Hello and welcome to another Out of Spec Reviews video. I'm Branden Flash, and behind me is my rear-wheel drive Volkswagen ID.4, and we're in Charlotte, North Carolina, where we got about 2 to 3 inches of wet and icy snow overnight. And we're going to be taking the ID.4 out to see how it does. As I mentioned, this is my Volkswagen ID.4 rear-wheel drive. This one is a Pro S with the gradient package. And how that applies to today's test means that it actually has 20-inch wheels with all-season tires. These are Bridgestone Alenza Sport AS, all seasons, 20-inch, 255/45 R20 in the rear. And we have 235/50 R20 in the front, so this does have the staggered wheels and tires like every ID.4 does. On this rear-wheel drive ID.4, we have a couple of things working for us, a couple of things working against us. The common misconception that rear-wheel drive is bad in snow comes from older vehicles that typically have a large V8 or other engine in the front and not a lot of weight in the rear. So you get a pendulum effect, and when that rear starts sliding, you just spin around because you have so much weight in the front that's centered. Whereas on an electric car like the ID.4, you have the battery underneath the entire floor of the vehicle, centered, low slung, and it's actually helping your balance of the car. So this vehicle is pretty balanced. And another reason that rear-wheel drive is typically regarded as worse in the snow is because you don't have as much weight over the traction tires, so you simply can't get going. But again, that's mitigated with a balanced chassis like an electric rear-wheel drive car has. So we're gonna be starting off here. I have it in B mode. I have it in comfort drive mode. Yep, just like how I drive it every day. We're just gonna see how it does. We've pulled out onto the snow here, and I'll give it a little throttle. So far, so good. Flooring it, definitely can feel the tires spinning. You can see the traction control light kicking on there, hopefully. And we're sliding a little bit. So there's the ABS kicking in, not bad. Yeah, so it gets going, but it's definitely sliding. Let's just drive it around here a little bit, see how it does. Braking distance, definitely worse than usual, as you would expect. These roads don't seem to be plowed at all, and they've become a bit slushy with all the cars driving over it and the rain that we now have. This is currently floored. You can see traction control light flashing there. It's definitely moving around a little bit, but we did get going. And let's just flip around here, see how it does turning. There we have the typical Volkswagen chime of 39 degrees. Turning is a challenge. It's doing it, but it's just killing my power. And I'm gonna switch to sport mode and see if that will allow a little bit more wheel slip. I'm not entirely sure if it will, but this rear-wheel drive doesn't have a traction control or traction drive mode like the all-wheel drive does, and it also doesn't have an ESC sport mode, which would allow more wheel spin. So both of those are unfortunates for the rear-wheel drive ID.4. So let's floor it here in sport mode. Feels basically the same. And now we're braking on ABS. Maybe you can hear the ABS pump kicking in. Pretty good calibration. It's definitely not letting the wheels lock up, hence anti-lock braking system. So that's doing exactly as it should. I'm trying to drive in the not as much driven area here just to see how it does. You can feel it bogging down on the thick, heavy snow. Now, as we get back in the more driven lanes here, it's much better. I would say this is certainly not ideal, but I think almost all of that's coming down to the tires. If I had winter tires or even an all-weather tire rather than all-season tire, I think it would be a huge improvement. For those of you not familiar with all-weather tires, they're actually all-season tires that have a triple peak Snowflake rating, which means that they're actually designed to be run as winter tires, but as an all year round tire, if that makes sense. And I think those are a really good balance for people that live in a climate that gets occasional snow but not super frequent snow, or even snowy climates like, I don't know, Midwest, Colorado, places like there, that you might just want to run one tire all year round, or if you're in Denver where you might get 70 degrees one day and a foot of snow the next. So overall, I would say this is definitely not unsafe. It's predictable, as rear-wheel drive cars typically are, if you know what to expect. Most people are not used to oversteer in slippery conditions versus understeer. So oversteer meaning the rear is stepping out, understeer meaning the front is pushing. And it does require a little bit of counter steering here as we're driving through this neighborhood road at about 30 miles an hour. Let's see, just braking again. ABS, I can feel it pulsing through the pedal. Definitely sliding, but not. But you still are maintaining control even under ABS, which is the entire point, because locked up tires don't allow you to have any control, whereas rolling tires allow you to maintain that steering control. Now we're going up a little bit of a hill. We'll see how this does. Definitely squirrely here. You can see someone went off the road there. They dipped their tire. I am currently floored and we're barely maintaining speed. We're going about, yeah, we're now slowing. And now as we're flattening out a little bit, we're picking up speed again. So let's just try from a stop here. So 0 miles an hour, I'm gonna floor it. We're actually barely moving. So it had to spin the tires a little bit. It cleared a little bit of a patch, and now we're moving once that happened. There was no initial traction. And I think a little bit of that may have been due to my coming to an abrupt stop, being that ABS actually kind of works to build up a little bit of a pile of whatever loose surface you're on in front of the tires, and that helps you stop. I do wish there was an off-road or ESC sport mode in this. Let's see, on this roundabout, I'm just gonna go all the way around. You can hear that right rear ABS kicking in. Definitely not able to slide this how I would like to be able to slide it in ideal conditions. And we're even getting a little bit of a push from the front end. But it won't let me spin out, which is probably ideal for most people. So we're just gonna go back this way again, see how it does. Overall, not bad. It definitely takes a lot more active driving if you're trying to maintain any sort of normal speed, especially as we're now getting this rain and it's probably freezing a little bit on the snow. As we have an oncoming car, I'll slow down just to maintain better control of the car. But overall, car is really comfortable, and I don't feel out of control at all. Definitely had to put a little bit of extra steering input there. And you can see this Mercedes is probably doing about as well as I am. They're going probably 10 miles an hour. Wow, this person is out running. It's 32 degrees and raining. That's some dedication exercise that I definitely don't have. So let's pull in one of these neighborhoods up here, just to see how it does. So there we had a little bit of sliding from the back end. Had to add a little bit of opposite lock. We're sliding, lowering speed. I'm glad to not be feeling any sliding from the rear under regen, even in B mode. But it does seem to be reducing regen from the rear, which is very smart programming. A common complaint on early rear-wheel drive Tesla Model S is that the rear would have such aggressive regen that it would actually cause the back end to get kind of squirrely, and I'm not experiencing that in this ID.4. So let's just pull in this neighborhood here, see how it does. Probably a little bit less trafficked and maybe a little more slippery. So ABS is working quite hard there. And let's just keep driving here. And let's just flip around here. And now we're gonna go out to a more main road with a little bit higher speed limit, around 50-mile-an-hour speed limit. Maybe plowed. This is actually my first time driving in snow in North Carolina. So I'm not even sure if they plow here or if they just let it melt. Tomorrow's supposed to be in the high 50s. But I grew up in Minnesota, so this is definitely not my first time driving in snow, and I had a BMW rear-wheel drive wagon as one of my prior cars, and with all-season tires it was downright dangerous, but then I put winter tires on it and it was a blast in the snow. I was drifting around just about every corner. So floored again, very slow to build speed. So we're going a bit downhill, if you can't see that, and then we're going to be going uphill again. So I'm going to build up a little bit of speed to help get up this hill. Otherwise, I fear that we may not be able to make it up it, unfortunately. Trying to steer out of the ruts is definitely not the move here. It's not able to overcome the resistance of the heavy wet snow. Just try and drive it a little more timidly versus trying to go quick. Overall, really not bad. Definitely lots of traction control intervention, unfortunately. Feels like the road is definitely getting a lot icier. It's getting more rough, which indicates more solid traction issues versus softer snow that you can kind of just push aside with the siping of the tires. And one of the reasons that winter tires work is actually that winter tires will hold on to snow, because snow on snow gets you better grip than having bare rubber on snow. So that's a common misconception as well, that you'll want your tires as bare as possible. Typically, if you have a bare tire, you're actually going to have worse traction than if you have a snow tire that's clinging onto all the snow. So it does look like this main road is plowed, so we'll see how it does here. So definitely much better grip. Again, floored. Traction control was still kicking in, but it was actually accelerating. And this feels like essentially normal driving, because it basically is just normal wet weather driving. do have those large ruts, which are not ideal. You want to avoid those. But if I had to commute to work today, I definitely could safely. I'd be more concerned about all the other cars on the road than I would be about my own driving and my own ability to get moving. And this car has about 8,000 miles on it, so tires are a little bit worn, but they're not bald and they're not brand new. So now we're driving in the unpaved lane just to see how that does. Again, just like driving on that side street. And whenever you're changing lanes with the ruts, you always want to be pretty careful because those can really pull you in. So we're going to wrap up this video here. Hopefully you found this informative. Overall, not bad. Would definitely recommend winter tires or at least all-weather tires if you're in a climate with frequent snow or ice. But definitely wouldn't hesitate to have a rear-wheel drive ID.4 in any of those climates. Thank you guys for watching. See you guys next time.